ARMY cries. JUNGKOOK's words about TAEHYUNG tear hearts apart. Is there a big secret? Welcome back to our channel, the home for every heartbeat, whisper, and untold story in the BTS universe. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because tonight's story is one you will not want to miss. Picture this, a dimly lit stage rehearsal. The echo of footsteps against the polished floor. A few crew members moving equipment. And JUNGKOOK, seated on the edge of the stage, quietly strumming a guitar. Taehyung walks in, tall, poised, his voice humming a low melody that feels almost like an old memory. They exchange a look, not a word. And then, during an interview that follows, JUNGKOOK speaks. It's not scripted. Not rehearsed. Just raw. He says, sometimes, I think about the day when it all ends. And I wonder if there are things I should have told him before it's too late. For a split second, the air leaves the room. The interviewer tries to keep the flow going, but ARMY watching later freeze on that sentence. Before it's too late? The internet lights up. Thousands of posts in hours. Fans dissecting every facial expression, every pause, every unspoken implication. Why did JUNGKOOK phrase it that way? Why now? To understand, we have to step back, far back, into the history of JUNGKOOK and Taehyung's friendship. This isn't just about two bandmates. This is about two young men who entered a world that demanded more from them than most could survive, who shared victories and scars behind the cameras. There were times in BTS's early years when exhaustion hung over them like a storm cloud, when every performance was a battle against the limits of their bodies. And yet, in those moments, you'd often find JUNGKOOK and Taehyung side by side, not just as artists, but as brothers in arms. Their connection wasn't always loud or obvious. Sometimes it was in the quiet gestures, Taehyung handing JUNGKOOK a water bottle without a word, JUNGKOOK adjusting Taehyung's mic before a show. But if you've followed them long enough, you know that those small acts often speak louder than public declarations. Which brings us back to that sentence. Some fans believe JUNGKOOK's words are about the inevitable. BTS members will one day have to walk their own paths. It's a thought that ARMY has dreaded since the first whispers of hiatus and military service. Others believe there's something more personal, a conversation JUNGKOOK hasn't had with Taehyung, a truth too heavy to voice except in these indirect fragments. But what could that truth be? In psychology, there's a term, anticipatory grief. It's the feeling you get when you begin to mourn something before it's actually gone. Soldiers feel it before deployment. Families feel it before a loved one moves away. And sometimes, close friends feel it when they sense a chapter in their story is closing. JUNGKOOK's tone carried that same bittersweet weight. Of course, there's another layer to this. BTS's world is not our world. Their every move is watched, analyzed, and archived. Secrets are hard to keep, but not impossible. And sometimes, the only way to express what you truly feel is to say it in a way that only one person, the intended person, will fully understand. And that's where fans began connecting dots. A few weeks before JUNGKOOK's comment, Taehyung posted a cryptic late-night message. It was just a black and white photo of an empty chair by a window, rain blurring the glass. No caption. No explanation. To most, it was just an aesthetic mood post. But to those who now looked back through the lens of JUNGKOOK's words, it felt like a piece of the same puzzle. Could it be that both of them are aware of something coming, a change, a separation, an event that hasn't yet been made public? Speculation grows like wildfire. Some point to the fact that Taehyung has been quieter in group content lately, smiling but often drifting into moments of silence when the cameras aren't focused on him. Others recall that in a past V-Live, JUNGKOOK admitted he sometimes regrets not saying things when I should. At the time, it felt like a generic reflection. Now, it feels like foreshadowing. And yet, there's something even stranger. Those who were present at that interview say that after Jungkook's sentence, Taehyung smiled faintly, not surprised, not confused, almost like he knew exactly what Jungkook meant. It was the kind of smile you give when someone says aloud what you've both been thinking but never dared to voice. The truth is, their relationship has always had this layer of mystery. Not in a dramatic, soap opera way, but in the way certain friendships defy easy explanation. Some connections are built on constant chatter, theirs often thrived in the silences. Which is why moments like these feel so seismic, because silence has been their language, and now, suddenly, Jungkook is speaking. But before we get lost entirely in speculation, let's remember the human side of this. BTS is not just a musical group, they are a shared heartbeat for millions. Every hint of sadness or distance between them feels personal to ARMY. It's why fans flooded timelines with messages like, "Tell him now, Jungkook," and "Please don't wait until it's too late." These aren't just casual observers, they're people who've grown up with these 7 men, who feel every crack in the facade as if it were their own. Still, there's one question that lingers in the shadows: if there is a big secret, is it something joyous, or something heartbreaking? We know BTS has surprises planned for the future, comebacks, special projects, reunions, but we also know that the industry they navigate is unpredictable, even ruthless. Friendships in such an environment often face tests no outsider can imagine. Could Jungkook's words be a quiet promise that no matter what happens publicly, some bonds will remain untouched? Or could it be a warning that something is changing, and fast? And then there's the matter of timing. Why now? Why in this particular interview? Was it spontaneous, an emotional slip in a candid moment, or a calculated way to prepare ARMY for what's coming? One thing is certain, in the history of BTS moments that made the world pause, this will be remembered. The stillness of his voice, the weight of those words, the way the internet seemed to collectively hold its breath. And somewhere, between the rain-blurred photo on Taehyung's feed and the quiet smile he gave Jungkook, lies the heart of a truth we may not be ready to hear. Because sometimes, the scariest secrets are the ones we can already feel without anyone having to say them aloud. But if there's one thing we can be certain of, it's this: Jungkook and Taehyung's story is far from over. Whether the road ahead is filled with joyous reunions or bittersweet goodbyes, they've already given ARMY a moment that will echo for years, a reminder that the most powerful connections are the ones we can't always explain. And maybe, just maybe, the next time Jungkook decides to speak from the heart, we'll be ready to hear it.